They are.
Well, Canada is not even a country.
Right, it's not even a country, and they are overwhelmed with guilt. They are so.
Well, they're murdering. The government is murdering tens of thousands of its citizens every year. They're almost all white, and now they're going to be doing it to kids. And by the way, under the MAIDS program, they're harvesting the organs. They're harvesting the organs from the Canadians they kill. So this is like the darkest thing. That's like, I would feel much freer and safer living in China than Canada. I can't believe I'm saying that. I actually love Canada. But that's happening, and no one's saying a word about it.
Yeah, that in particular is one of those things that it's so dark and so depraved that when you talk about it, I think a lot of people, especially in America, they think you're making it up or you're exaggerating. It's becoming one of the leading causes of death.
It is one of the leading causes of death.
Is assisted suicide. I mean, just
the government killing you, and not because you have ALS, but because you can't pay your rent, and then extending it to children, and then harvesting the organs and the blood. I mean, I feel like they're a way bigger threat to the United States than Venezuela. Such great people. I don't know how we can allow this to happen without at least saying something about it. I'm not actually arguing for military action, but like maybe threatening it. They're way worse than Maduro. Way worse than Maduro. Yeah. Way worse. So like, but I'm sure I'll be like scolded for, how can you say that? Because it's true.
Yeah, well, the MAID program alone is one of the most evil things happening in the world, period.
Murdering your citizens and harvesting their organs on a greater scale than China does? Really? And it's right there?
When you look at Canada and Europe and these guys, we're on the same kind of crazy train. They're just a few train cars up. And so that's why you got to pay attention to where they are, because we're going to be there. So that's one thing.
Yes, thank you.
But I think that also for some conservatives in this country, there's some embarrassment about this, because I think there are plenty of conservatives who've been at least indifferent to the issue of euthanasia and have over the years, not as much now because you see what's happening with MAID, but over the years with saying that, well, you know, because they get hung up on this, well, it's a personal choice. And they just think as conservatives, you cannot oppose a personal choice. You can't do it. And it's kind of the libertarian instinct gone way haywire in my mind. And so but now you can see, now those of us who have always been against euthanasia.
So a desperate person has free will, is that what they're saying?
And that's the problem.
These are children. They don't know what they're talking about.
And also, those of us who are opposed to it, we have been saying for years, like, this is where it's going to go. Okay, yeah, right now they are. And the other argument for euthanasia was, well, these are people who are in terrible pain and they're at death's door. They've only got days or at most weeks to live anyway. They're in horrible pain. You have no idea what it's like, and so they should be able to. Have a way out. They will not stop. It always starts with the most justifiable version of it that they can muster, which is still totally unjustifiable in my view. But they always starts with the most justifiable version, and then next it's like, okay, yeah, but yeah, we should include people who maybe they're not terminally ill, but they're chronically ill and they're in a lot of pain. And okay, now we've included them. Well, what about mental illnesses? Well, what about this person over there? He's homeless. Yeah, he's not terminally ill, but his life has no meaning and he's terrible. He lives on the street. And then you know, step. Once you allow the medical establishment to use death, murder, as a form of medical treatment, you've completely flipped it on its head, because the whole point of medicine is to heal and treat. And so to avoid death and pain, like that's the point of it. And now you've flipped it upside down and you've said that death is the treatment.
So, but did you realize, I certainly didn't realize, it really was the COVID vax and the lack of COVID the intentional lack of COVID, letting people die rather than treating their symptoms, which happened extensively across the United States. That's when I was like, these people aren't just wrong. They're like the worst people, and the physicians are the worst people in the country. And for all the nurses, sweet nurses, I love nurses, sorry, who like stood up and like, this is wrong. Almost no doctors did. A few, Mary Talley Bowden and people like that, but like not a lot. And I was just like, our doctors are evil, not just mistaken, they're bad. Did you feel that?
I think a lot of them are. I mean, certainly, obviously, not all of them, but
not all of them, right?
yeah, but
But like not 5%,
right, exactly.
We're like 70%.
Well, and how about also there's abortion, euthanasia, COVID. You've gone to, but then also something that I don't think we should just drop and move on from, because speaking of justice, there has not been justice for this, which is that for years we had the entire medical establishment unanimously almost telling us that the best thing to do with a young boy who's a little bit confused about his identity is to castrate him. And they were doing that. They were doing that to thousands of kids. They were chopping the breasts off. They're still doing it in some places. But it was certainly happening at scale for a long time. They were chopping the breasts off of 15-year-old girls. And to your point, it was not just like a few doctors. There's a lot of doctors that were involved in it. A lot more doctors supported it, and a lot of other doctors who maybe didn't like it, but they didn't say a word. They did not speak up against it. This is some of the most insane, barbaric, Frankenstein bullshit that the world has ever seen. Completely unjustifiable. No one can argue in defense of it. It's one of the craziest things that's ever happened in the history of the planet.
It's hard to hear this even because you're right.
And most people on the right told themselves or insisted that it's not worth saying anything about. It's not that big of a deal.
Totally right. That's exactly.
Right. And then you've got cowardice on the right, refusing to speak up against it until it's very safe to do so. And then everybody does. And that's why it's also been on the trans issue. It's been interesting over the last year and a half to have people coming out of the woodwork, very boldly saying, men shouldn't be in women's sports. Like, yeah, thanks for that. Like, we could have used that 6 years ago.
Well,